I recently came across this momentum effect that skews the text based on the scroll velocity. And today we're going to recreate this animation using motion and Lenis. And here's the recreation that we'll create here with the skewing of the text as we scroll. To start, I have this new Next.js project with a couple of placeholder sections which are full page. So let's just start by creating our new section, which we'll put in between these. So here in the home component, between these sections, I'll create a new section. And on this section, let's just add some styles. Let's add position relative, width full, and because we want this to stay on the screen for a while, I'll give it a larger than normal height of 300 view height. Then inside the section, let's add the actual sticky content. So we'll put that all in a div. This div will have class names of sticky, top of 0, height of screen, width full. And I'll give it flex, items, center, and overflow hidden. Let's first add the full screen background image. I'll use next image, so I'll need a container surrounding it to give it the right sizing. So on this surrounding div, I'll give it position absolute, width full, and height full. Then I'll insert the actual image itself from next image, give it class name of object cover. Source will be the BG image that we have in our source directory. Let's call it race car driver and set fill, which will fill to its parent. So now if we scroll down, we can see we have the image here full screen and it's saying sticky for the full height, and then it leaves as we go past the section. Now let's add a darkening overlay over this image so we can actually read content. So this will just be a self-closing div. We'll add position absolute, inset 0, BG black with 70 opacity, width full, height full, and object cover. So we have this nice darkening overlay. Then let's add the actual text. So I'm going to put this inside an H1. Let me just copy in the content of this H1 here. Then on this H1, give it stylings of all uppercase, font bold, text white. I'll make the text pretty big. I'll make it 10 rem. If I try this now, we still won't see the text. Let me give it a Z of 50 so that this is all the way on top. So now we can see the text. It is wrapping, but we want this all to remain on one line. So I'll also add a text, no wrap. And so now we have it all in one line and it's just going off the page. So try this one more time. If we scroll from the hero section, we have this content which will stick for a little bit and then we'll go past it. So this is set up. So now let's set up scroll tracking for powering all the animations we want to do. So here in the top of the component, I'll first set up a ref to the container that we want to target for scroll tracking. So container is useRef, and I'll attach it here to this big, tall section here. So ref will be container. Now, of course, import useRef. Now I'll set up the use scroll hook from framer motion. So I'll extract both scroll Y, the actual pixel value, and scroll Y progress. We'll need both of them. So this will be use scroll from framer motion. The target will be the container. And then for offset, we'll set this to be 0% when the start of the container is in the center of the screen, and 100% when the end of the container is in the center of the screen. And we'll import use scroll from motion / react. I'm also going to need to track the velocity of the scroll, both the actual value of the velocity and also the direction, which is why we need this absolute value of the scroll Y. So first I'll track the velocity. So scroll velocity is use velocity, nicely also from motion. And I'll just say I want the velocity of scroll Y. I'm then going to smooth out the velocity so we're not jittering a lot. So I'll make a smooth velocity value, which will be a spring value of scroll velocity, but it's a little bit smoothed out. So I add some damping here of, let's say 50, and some stiffness as well, 500. You can play around with these values to get the effect that exactly you want. So now we have this velocity tracking also set up. So let's actually attach these values and make use of them for some animations. So let's first start with just making this text move from left to right or from right to left as we scroll. So I'll create a value here. I'll call it the text position. And I'll use transform from motion. I want this to be tied to the scroll Y progress. Scroll Y progress will go from 0 to 1. And I want that to map to values of 50% to negative 100%. So this will be the actual text position. So I'll need to scroll down now to the actual text. So this H1, I'll make this a motion H1. import motion. And then on this H1, I'll add a style tag, and I'll attach here the X position should be the text position that we've calculated. So let's try it. So now when I scroll, it's off the page all the way on the right. As I keep scrolling, the text comes on screen. It keeps scrolling past us. And as we get here to the bottom, it's now off the screen. So this is the behavior that we want. So now let's set up some skewing on this text as we scroll. So the skewing is going to be tied, in this case, to the velocity. So as we scroll faster, we should skew the text more. And it should skew in different directions based on if we're scrolling up or down. So I'll go up here, and underneath this text position, let's also define first what we'll call a skew factor. So we'll first convert the velocity to some value, and then we'll smooth out that value. So a skew factor will be use transform. We'll attach it to the smooth out velocity values. We'll attach some balancer that we'll want. So we'll say between -1,000 and 1,000 for the velocity. And we'll tie this to values of 15 to -15. And then I'm just going to go ahead and smooth out the skewing as well, so it's not as jarring. So I'll call it skew, use spring. And the reason why we need to do this is when we're not moving, we need the skew to be 0, right? The text should be exactly as it is right now. And as you scroll, it goes to these extreme values of skewing, but then bounces back to 0. So that's why the actual skew itself needs to use this use spring. So the value should just be 0. I'll set some properties here. The bounce will be 0. Again, this is more of a choice. And I'll set the visual duration here to be 0.1. And then we need to actually update the value of the skew based on the skew factor at any given time based on the velocity. So to do this, I'm going to throw this into a use animation frame hook, also coming from framer motion, which will run consistently between every paint of the page. And just say on every single frame, I'm going to set the value of skew to be the current value of skew factor, skew factor.get. So make sure at any given time, skew is being pushed towards the value of skew factor, but then skew also has the ability then to be like a spring and go back towards 0. Okay, so now let's attach the skew value here to the H1. So I can just add it here as skew. Let's try it. So if I scroll now, you can see we have the skewing happening. And now as I scroll in either direction, it switches the orientation of the skew, which is exactly what we want. And if I scroll faster, is more skew, and then it bounces back to 0. All right, so that's the text animation pretty much sorted. So now let's set up some small animations for the image. I just want the image to scale a little bit, to be a little bit lively as we scroll, and it's not just static. So this will be pretty simple. I'll go back up here. I'll create a new value here called image scale. I'll again use transform. I'll attach this just to scroll Y progress simply. As it goes from 0 to 1, let's say we want this scale to go from 1 to 1.1. So just a very slight scaling. I'll then go down to the surrounding div of the image. I'll make this a motion div, and then I'll attach styles here and set scale to be image scale. So now as we scroll, we can see here, as you get down here, it will then become sticky. Then it will start scaling up a little bit in the background. So nice little motion in the background. And then as we come back up, it will scale back down to its original size. So nice little motion happening in the background for this effect. So finally, just to make this overall feel better, let's just add smooth scrolling to everything here. It will make this feel even less jittery than it feels right now. So for this, I'm going to use Lenis and specifically the React helpers that Lenis will give us, which makes this really simple. So I'm going to open up the root layout of the project. And just here inside the body, I'm going to wrap the children here in a React Lenis component, which comes from Lenis. And I'll just set this to be, this is the root. Move this to surround the children, and now we got smooth scrolling. So if I just refresh this page completely and come to the top here, now we have smooth scrolling overall enabled. And you can see now as we scroll down here, this is already feeling a lot better because we've smoothed out the scrolling overall as well on top of all the other smoothing we've done. And so now this starts to feel really, really good. So that's it for this one. The source code is linked in the description if you want to check it out. YouTube thinks you should check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.